We've been a leader in banking for more than 100 years. You'll find us here, at home, on your phone, and everywhere you go. Renaissance Bank. Understanding you. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Sponsored by Renaissance Bank.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi. This is Newsbreak for Friday, March 24th. I'm Brad Locke. Thanks for joining us. You can catch Newsbreak each weekday at 7 a.m. You can watch it on djournal.com, Facebook, YouTube, or the Daily Journal's mobile apps for Apple and Android devices. Going to take a quick look now at news, sports, and weather for Northeast Mississippi, and we will start with the Weather Underground forecast for today. Going to have overcast skies, a high of 74 degrees. Low of 61, just a 10% chance of rain. The 3-day outlook, Saturday, thunderstorms are very likely. Going to have a high of 72, low of 55. The chance of rain is 80%. Sunday, partly cloudy, high of 78, low of 58, 10% chance of rain. And then thunderstorms will probably return on Monday, a high of 73, low of 56, 80% chance of rain. Let's take a look now at some of the top stories from the Daily Journal and djournal.com on this Friday. A bill that would allow the construction of a new jail outside the city limits of Tupelo passed 2 Senate committees on Thursday and is now pending before the full chamber. The legislation, along with another bill that would allow the Itawamba County Board of Supervisors to build a jail outside the municipal limits of Fulton, passed both the Local and Private Committee and the Corrections Committee on Thursday. The local and private legislation is needed because general state law mandates that a county jail be located within the corporate limits of the county's seat of government. The Lee County Board of Supervisors is wanting to build a new jail because the current one has several issues, including overcrowding, and the supervisors want to explore all options for the location, including outside the city limits. The bill involving the Lee County Jail came under unusually tough scrutiny in the Corrections Committee, and Representative Shana Gary of Tupelo voted against it in the House earlier this session. Senate Corrections Chair Sampson Jackson of DeKalb questioned whether it is proper to pass legislation that would allow specific counties to not follow existing law and have their jails located outside the county seat. He was told it has been done by the legislature on multiple occasions in other counties. House Speaker Philip Gunn isn't ruling out the possibility of the state's revenue estimate being revised before Saturday night's budget deadline. The legislative leadership has until then to reach a budget agreement. Gunn said the Legislative Budget Committee could meet to revise the revenue estimate, which is not an uncommon maneuver. The Budget Committee makes its initial estimate of the amount of revenue available to appropriate in the fall, but it often revises that number in the spring based on more current data. Often the estimate is raised, which gives legislators more money to appropriate, but that's unlikely to happen this year due to a prolonged period of sluggish revenue collections. The initial budget proposal passed by both chambers cuts most state agencies. Saturday is also the deadline for an accord on revenue bills and on bond bills that would finance long-term construction projects. A key revenue bill is a proposal that would divert taxes collected by online retailers from the general fund to a program for repairs to the state transportation system. It's estimated that this proposal would divert around $50 million annually from the cash-strapped general fund. There is another proposal to issue $50 million in bonds for work on substandard local bridges, and that also faces a Saturday night deadline. Best-selling author Greg Iles met with fans at Reed's Gumtree Bookstore on Thursday. The Natchez-based author is touring in support of his latest novel, Mississippi Blood. About 50 fans attended a question and answer session with the author. Other fans stopped by later on to have their books signed and get photos taken with the author. In the acknowledgments of Mississippi Blood, Iles thanked people who stood up for civil rights in Mississippi, and the late Jack Reed Sr. was mentioned by name. Iles noted that, quote, Jack Reed was fighting the battle before anyone else came to it. Mississippi Blood is the last in a 3-part series that includes The Bone Tree and Natchez Burning. All 3 books take a fictionalized but hard look at the South's racial history. The stories follow Penn Cage and his father, Dr. Tom Cage. Teresa Hendricks of Nettleton said Iles' books always keep her interested and intrigued. And in sports, Mississippi State faces a stiff test tonight in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA women's basketball tournament. The number 2 seeded Bulldogs face 3 seed Washington at 6 p.m. in Oklahoma City. The game can be seen on ESPN2. The Huskies are led by Kelsey Plum, the NCAA's all-time leading scorer. She currently leads the nation with an average of 31.8 points per game. Now, if MSU can get past Washington, it will mark the program's deepest run in the NCAA tournament. The Bulldogs got this far last year before losing to eventual champ UConn. MSU had little trouble in the first 2 rounds as Coach Vic Schaefer shuffled his lineup using 4 new starters. One of those players, his daughter, Blair Schaefer, scored a total of 38 points in the wins against Troy and DePaul. For the season, Victoria Vivians leads MSU in scoring at 16.1 points per game. The winner of tonight's game will face either Baylor or Louisville in the Elite Eight on Sunday. That's it for Newsbreak on this Friday. We do want to remind you to check out one of the podcasts we produce here at the Daily Journal, The Memo, all things Northeast Mississippi news and entertainment, with myself and W. Derek Russell. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday. You can find it for free in iTunes, your podcast apps, or at memo.djournal.com. Look for today's episode where we talk with Jenna Parsons about the food section in this week's journal. Also, Scott Morris reviews the movie Beauty and the Beast, and Derek catches us up on what's happening in the local entertainment scene. All the stories I talked about today you can find in your daily journal or at djournal.com. We're on Twitter at djournalnow. Like us on Facebook as well. And that's it for Newsbreak on this Friday. I'm Brad Locke. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.